put in the approval that it had to, yes, as the rendering.
And it's right up there, it's not even down below, it's up near
Isn't
the
he
top
guy
of the
that's
window.
supposed to be making sure they follow what we say?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. And this, of course, there are windows.
Yeah.
I think he's away in the gala too, we have an air conditioner,
Yeah.
so they probably put one in. Looks like they put the remote control so you can change it from the podium. I had no idea it was this.
Do it, Robin. When people talk out there, you switch the view. Let them see them.
No, we have to use the podium.
We get this show on the road, right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
Well,
Well, we're gonna get this show on the road here. I would like to call to order the September 19th Cornwall Hudson Planning Board meeting. We'll get to the minutes next. We're gonna start with the new business, okay? The new business is Riverside Apartments of Cornwall Hudson LLC, 164 Hudson Street. The applicant is seeking approval for a two-lot subdivision. So I'm guessing that you are here to represent the applicant. Do you want to tell us what you're trying to do?
Well, my name is Jonathan Millen, I'm a licensed land surveyor, and what we're trying to do is break out this parcel as a separate parcel. That's essentially it.
Okay. So currently you have the big apartment building, the little cottage, and the
Correct.
Silverman's house is all one lot.
There's no improvements planned.
Okay. So I had a quick conversation with Joe this afternoon, and there were just a couple of things that he brought up that I believe he spoke to your architect about.
No,
To you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we spoke this afternoon, so I try to let Jonathan know what I was thinking and what I was going to present to the board.
Okay. So, do you want to be the guy that presents it? Go
Sure,
ahead, Joe.
sure. So I know what they're trying to do is very simple. There's public water and sewer to the properties. I think there are three. I know there's a cottage. I think there are three properties there now. One is the multifamily. The cottage, I think, that you're referring to, which is closer to Hudson Street. And then the lot that has I guess it's a single-family home that they're trying to subdivide out. So we haven't had a lot of subdivisions, but we have had this issue before. In our code, and I'll just read it because it's easier. When you have a subdivision, and there's going to be access from a private street, this is what the code says. Access from private streets shall be deemed not acceptable. I think it's bad English, but that's what it says. Access from private streets are not acceptable unless they're designed and improved in accordance with the village street specifications. So what that means is, I'll try to make this distinction. Right now, and as far as you know, that Riverside Drive, it's not a street in the village. It's not a public road. It's a paper road. So it's a paper road. Is it a paper road or is it a driveway? Who named the road?
I don't know what the specific protocol could be, but when you get on Google Earth, it says there's such a place called Riverside Drive. And it
Okay.
shows you that as a road. Obviously, it's just a driveway.
So this is the distinction I'm trying to draw. Your driveway is on your lot. Right now, because everything is on one lot, this is a driveway that serves all three of those structures. Once you subdivide that one lot out, it's no longer the driveway for that proposed new lot. So to get to that proposed new lot, you need a street. So it will be a private street.
You
So,
need a street or you need a driveway.
well, let's say street. You need a street, right? So that means under our code, you need to build that street out to village specifications. The minimum specifications would be 50 feet wide. We know that that's not feasible for what they're trying to do. The code allows them to go to the ZBA for a variance to, for access via a private street. And then this board can, then the road width or right-of-way width is a minimum of 30 feet. And this board has the discretion to reduce it to 20 feet. So what I'm saying is, if they continue the way that they're proposing, this board has to refer them for a variance because they don't have access to a public road over another public road. It's not their driveway, so this needs to be a street. Obviously, they're not going to build it out 50 feet wide. That doesn't make any sense. Also, as I said, since it's going to be a private street and not a public street, they need a variance from the ZBA so that they can get from the new lot to Hudson Street through a private street.
So they need two variances?
Oh, there's one more.
Right now, there's only one variance we can talk about, and that's getting to Hudson Street via another private street.
Does it have to be to Hudson Street? Can it be to Grandview?
Well, it can. In theory, it can, but it looks like,
No, it really couldn't be the Grandview, so that even though there's a right of way that allows it to go to Grandview, it wouldn't be feasible because there's a house right there,
Okay,
and the driveway isn't very wide,
okay.
so that cars in and out. But this driveway that leads into this multifamily dwelling, it's already 30 feet wide, it's just pretty wide for the driveway, and it does have a turnaround in it. So I don't think it's a stretch to imagine that you can just simply get a variance for it and allow that lot to be separated.
so what I discussed with Jonathan was the fact that we would need a meets and bound, he'd draw out what he intends that right-of-way to be with a meets and bounds description. One of our conditions, once we got that far, one of the conditions would be to have that right-of-way or easement recorded, giving proposed Lot 1 permanent access to Hudson Street. So, and just one more thing. So when this came up, I did reach out to the village engineer. And what our engineer had said, I didn't speak with you about this, but I reached out to the engineer. And what he would prefer is that if you could, say, revise the map to show the location, and they could just, the engineers could just take a look at it to make sure there's not, and I just drove there, so I don't think this is going to be an issue, but make sure there's no issues with drainage, there are specifications with regard to grade, and they could take a look at it and just make recommendations to the board in the future.
Yeah.
So Joe,
Mm-hmm.
the way I understand it, present Silverman's house,
Yes.
that will become lot 1. They're just separating out the lot lines. Right?
The pinkish one, I'm not sure what, yeah, the square, the large square,
It's on the left-hand side.
that will be, yeah, whoever's house that is, that will be the new lot, the proposed new lot.
So in this whole subdivision, only one more house will be built.
No,
No, this is just for a subdivision.
If this is one big lot,
Right,
right now,
right.
he just wants that to be its own lot, so theoretically, he could sell that
Okay,
without having to do all of that.
okay. So as long as nothing is being built on the proposed lot
No,
two,
that's not the suggestion.
so,
Yeah, right now it's only a subdivision, no proposal. Just jump in anytime you want. I'm taking over the meeting.
Is that really the proposed improvements? That's
so
all?
who
No,
will,
no, no.
Todd will still own, lot number two.
Who,
Once I understand, this is all owned by one entity.
Yes,
Yeah, Todd.
yeah, Todd owns it all.
I mean, he can sell it
he'll continue to own everything.
until.
So if we do the subdivision, we okay it, that means Todd can sell it as a building lot.
That's correct.
Well, as a building lot, but there's already something on it. He's got to sell the lot.
As a,
He can sell the lot
As a
Yeah.
separate lot.
as a separate lot.
I'm talking about lot two now.
yeah, so lot two has that little
That's
cottage
the
on it.
empty, no, lot,
No, 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 no.
lot two is that green going all the way
No,
to.
it's this.
Lot
This
two
would
goes
be-
all the way to
this is lot
Grandview.
two.
No, no, look,
All of
is-
this.
this is,
No, so, right, because it says proposed lot two, because currently this is one lot. He's gonna make this little square, proposed lot one, and then this
including,
backwards
the-
L,
including
including
the
the
apartments.
buildings.
Yeah.
Lot two, yes.
Just two lots. They can, in the future, they can always subdivide further, but right now,
This is just,
it's just separating out the one lot.
And that, and the width on Grandview Avenue is of no consequence at this time.
Yeah.
Because that has to be 100 feet.
Wait, Grandview, is that the one in the,
In the
That's
back.
in the back,
That's
where
not
the-
no.
Down
And
there.
no, my understanding is the way it's proposed, you can't have access to Grandview. It's just simply not wide enough because they're, right?
Right.
So they're proposing to come in, what's the name of the
they wanna come
driveway?
in through here.
Riverside, is it Riverside?
The same way they come in now, they wanna continue to come in.
Riverside Drive. So the proposal is to come in Riverside Drive to access both lots. The existing lot and the new lot.
He's not, they're not trying to do anything
on?
here, other than. No, it's on for the public.
Oh, okay.
So they're not trying to do anything with this lot
Okay.
currently,
Mhm.
other than just make it its own.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and then they're gonna have to go to the ZBA, so that the ZBA can say, you don't have to have a driveway that goes to Hudson Street. You can use this existing Riverside Drive to get in there. That make sense?
Yep.
Okay. You're good.
Can you tell me what provision you were citing from?
Yes, I can.
I got it. It's 139.17, section D.
Okay,
Right.
I took notes when we talked today.
okay.
So we have two possibilities before the board tonight. That is a new amended map to show, as you suggested, the necessary changes and what impact that might have on this whole process. And the other is to head the applicant to the ZBA.
Correct, and both of those things need to be done. So the question is, what's the most expedient way to do that?
Right.
We do need a new map, or revised map, showing our engineer's recommendation is that it would be 30 feet wide. My recommendation is that it have separate meets and bounds that we can record if we get that far. So really, the question is more procedural. Does this board want the applicant to provide a revised map to this board for review and our engineer's review before it goes to the ZBA? Or does this board want to, for instance, give the applicant a deadline to submit a revised plan and refer it to the ZBA?
I would prefer, personally, individually, I would prefer that an amended map come back to this board.
Well,
before going to the
if I
ZBA?
could, what we're simply talking about here is my reducing a 30-foot wide right of way that's just
understand.
gonna come up here like this, that's all it is, just
I understand that's all it is. I'd
so
like
how
to
much
see
is
it
there to
on,
review is my
I'd like to
point.
see it on the map with the attorney's recommendations indicating what he and the village engineer believe should be shown on that map. I know it's simple, and if it is so simple, you should have.
I think we should just go to ZBA.
And getting that back
Well,
to
I'm just trying to
Send it to
expedite the
ZBA.
process. But my
Because they'll
thinking
see it.
is, if the engineering department is comfortable with a 30-foot right of way, then it's a very simple thing to draft a 30-foot right of way on this plan. It's just 2 lines 30 feet apart, and send that to recommend this to the zoning board of appeals. Then after the zoning board of appeals are gonna have to review the plan anyway.
Did you not suggest that there was other information that should be on that amended map?
I wasn't aware of that.
Well, I'll clarify. Our engineer's proposal is that the right-of-way be 30 feet wide. That being said, once it's on the plan, the engineer would just review it for grade, make sure there's no drainage issues, because it's going to be basically kind of become almost a two-way street. That's just their technical review. So you have my legal comments. So that would be the technical review. I understand what the applicant's saying. I mean, we don't want to keep them here too long. If the only way that this map is going to change is by drawing the 30-foot right-of-way that I'm requesting, I would suggest you could give the applicant a deadline to do that and refer it to the ZBA.
Yeah, I would be okay with, like a 7-day deadline or something. If by next Tuesday you could submit that, and it could come, if it could come to this board as well as the ZBA. and
Sure.
Review of the,
And I think the ZBA met last night, right?
What was that?
Did the ZBA meet last night?
No.
last
No,
week.
last week.
Yeah.
That was last week.
Oh, that was last week already?
Either way, so they're gonna have to meet with the ZBA, and then they're gonna have to come back and meet with us no matter what. So even if they're granted the variance by the ZBA, and for some reason the engineer or we still don't approve of what's happening, then it still doesn't happen. So I'm okay with a 1-week deadline, getting us a revised map with the 30-foot wide driveway thrown on there.
And the description.
And as long as it comes to.
I don't have any legal objection to that.
Yeah, would everyone, does anyone?
Do you
That's
have
fine.
an emotional?
No, I don't have an emotional objection either.
Question, why,
Yes.
and it's probably because I'm not an expert at the code, why do they need to go to zoning board?
Well, because this will be a street, but it will be a private street. Our code does not allow the planning board to approve a subdivision that only has access via a private street.
Okay.
So we go to the ZBA,
Mm-hmm.
whatever happens there, happens there. It
Right.
comes back.
Correct.
Well, it does or it doesn't, but, so if it comes back, the next point, I'm just looking forward in our discussion today, because it is just a 2-lot subdivision, procedurally, it's like a 2-lot subdivision or a lot line change, it would not need a public hearing pursuant to our code.
Under our code, the code does not specifically require a public hearing. After our discussion, I went back and I looked at the New York State Village Law. The village law doesn't necessarily state you must have a public hearing all the time, but it kind of implies that you do. And it's something less than a specific requirement. Normally, if our code did not, if this were not just a two-lot subdivision, if it were a minor subdivision, our code requires a public hearing. If it were a major subdivision, our code requires a public hearing. You don't actually have to have a public hearing for secret purposes, and you don't have to have a public hearing if it's just a two-lot subdivision. You have the discretion to approve it without the public hearing. Well, let's talk about seeker for a second. So, normally what we do is this board usually designates itself as the lead agency. We classify the action. I actually started to prepare a draft resolution to schedule a public hearing until I realized this issue, so we're obviously not going to be able to do that tonight. If this board were to declare itself lead agency tonight, then this board makes the environmental determination as to whether or not to issue a negative declaration. If the board made itself lead agency tonight, we'd have to refer it to the ZBA. Let the ZBA take action. They'd have to come back. We could have a public hearing or not. That's still up to the discretion of the board. And then this board would have to make its secret determination. And assuming that this board made its secret determination and issued a negative declaration, then they'd have to go back to the ZBA for final approval, because the ZBA can't give final approval until we first issue the negative declaration.
It's probably let the ZBA declare itself lead agency.
That's my suggestion. So what we can do in this case is we can do uncoordinated review. You can just simply refer it to the ZBA. They will make their own seeker findings, and then it will come back for action by this board, whether it's a public hearing or not. In theory, you could have inconsistent environmental determinations, and I don't see how that's really going to happen. So I would suggest that this board not take any seeker action tonight. You don't even need to declare yourself lead agency. Just refer it to the ZBA, because otherwise they'd have to go back and back and back and back. And that doesn't make any sense.
No, then I'm fine with just referring them to the applicant to the ZBA. Would I need to make a motion to do that?
Yeah, you can just make a motion to refer.
A second.
And as part of the motion, I don't know if you said 7 days. Can the applicant, you revise the plan in
Yeah,
7 days?
We can do it by
You
Wednesday.
could probably do it right now.
Well,
But, yeah, if you could
It'd
do it,
take me a couple hours to do it.
yeah,
Okay.
By Wednesday, after that, by Wednesday, if that would help, I don't know.
I don't think it makes a difference. I think 7 days is.
Yeah, and
It still only meets when it meets, unless it makes a difference with the deadline for the ZBA meeting.
We have plenty of time. By Wednesday, we'll have plenty of time to do the process.
So as long as you get it, I would just do a deadline of 7 days, but as soon as possible is better.
and I
I don't want them to meet the deadline to get on the schedule for the next agenda of the ZBA. That's what I'm.
understood. All right. And what I would do is once you have, perhaps even before you finalize it and submit it to the two boards and the building inspector, you might just want to contact our engineers and say, listen, I have a draft here. Get their comments on it so we don't have to bounce you back and forth before the boards, right?
All right, so if you can give me that contact.
I will.
information, I'll forward the plan sometime this week and let them review it.
Yeah.
That's better for everyone.
Need to vote on that?
So the motion would be to have the applicant submit a revised plan within 7 days
Revised plan within 7 days.
in coordination with our village engineers. And then to submit a copy of the plan to both boards. And this board will be referring the applicant to the ZBA for the private road variance.
Yeah. Do I need to repeat that? Because you just said it.
If Robin got it, I think we're okay.
I think then we need to vote, so Lee, second, all in favor.
Aye.
I think we're good for today then, except for the minutes. So, anybody, When you sent them out. I think I wrote you back
Yeah.
on something.
I didn't,
I'm
I
pretty-
didn't see anything.
Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the April 18th minutes.
Yep.
So
A
you said-
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Now we'll make a motion to close the meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good work.
At 7:25.
We could,
We're winning today.
could have brought the Tommy today, but
So why didn't he come? Did he wanna come back about his barn, right?
supposedly, he's
Doing something.
ZBA.
Oh, okay.